Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Bettor Plays Ahead, powered by the Game Day. This is where we break down the NFL slate. We're into week 13. We're hyped. Stay tuned to the end of the show. We're going to have our Thursday night picks between the Seahawks and the Cowboys. Before we get into it, though, I got to mention we got some great promos for FanDuel. Head to thegameday.com at promotions, and you could really take advantage of that. But without further ado, I'm joined with my good friend Scotty the King Angle. He's hyped for his Seahawks. He's a Seahawks fan. They're playing tonight. What's up, Scott?
Good to be with you, Frank. Always, I am in the shadow of a legend here. Frank? What like a top four ranker on Fantasy Pros right now for
Oh
the
yeah,
season?
I'm red hot. I got to keep that going and translate it to the bets as well. Let's do it.
Yeah, make sure everybody who's watching check out Frank's weekly fantasy football rankings on thegameday.com. I'm just gonna set my lineup to it. That's all I'm gonna do.
That's it. Let's hope I continue to not disappoint. But we'll get right into the Week 13 slate with the chalkboard. This is where we pick our favorite of the week. So our top favorite of the week, we lay the chalk. We're not afraid to take the favorite, whether it's road or home. And Scott, you got a team that's taking on probably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now, in the Atlanta Falcons, taking on Tim Boyle and the New York Jets.
Yeah, the Falcons minus 2.5 over the Jets is that's kind of chalky. I mean, the over under on this game should probably be about 14 points, but you know, I'll take the weaponry that the Falcons have over the Jets. The Falcons have a stout defense. They don't get a lot of turnovers, but they'll keep the Jets off the board. And I believe Bijan Robinson, somebody like that, Drake London, or even the defense should be able to get a play. I mean, we could see like a 13-9 game here where the Falcons prevail, but I slightly like the Falcons better on offense than the Jets. So to me, almost anybody going against the Jets right now is chalk.
Yeah, 100%. Tim Boyle does not look good at all. He has no business starting right now. I don't know why they're going with him instead of even Trevor Siemian, but we got to fade the Jets with Boyle playing. I could see Atlanta just pounding the ball, running it all over the Jets. And the Jets D obviously is really good, but when you're on the field so much because your offense can't move the ball and is constantly punting, your defense gets tired. So eventually you could see Bijan Robinson, even Tyler Algier get chunk yardage on the ground. I love that play. I'm on it as well in
Yeah.
one of my parlays at thegameday.com. So there's our chalkboard pick. We're going to move on now to It's a Trap. Now, this is where we look at a line that looks fishy, and I'm going to explain to you why you got to roll with the fishy line here. So you could look at the Eagles. They're plus 2.5, maybe even plus 3 in some spots against the 49ers. You ask yourself, why is a 10-1 team underdogs at home? And I'll tell you why they should be underdogs and why you should take the San Francisco 49ers here. I like San Fran because since getting Chase Young through trade, they're allowing only 6.7 points per game. Their defense is rolling right now, and it looks very good. Now, here's the other thing. The Niners' 3 losses came without Trent Williams, the left tackle, their star. He left early, like he left in that game against the Browns, and that ended up really causing them to lose. And then he missed the next 2 games against the Vikings and Bengals, which they lost. If you look at the 49ers, when Trent Williams is in the lineup, they're 8-0 with a plus 161 point differential. They're 7-1 against the spread when Williams is playing. So it's all hands on deck for San Fran here. I think they get a statement win on the road. And plus, the Eagles are banged up. Like Jalen Hurts played well against the Bills, but that offense wasn't really the same for much of that game. And A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are also banged up, even DeAndre Swift. Give me the 49ers here. And let's hear what you got to say. I think you like the Eagles, Scott.
This game could go either way to me. I mean, you make a convincing argument as you always do for the 49ers, but I really think this game could go either way. Because if Brock Purdy's got to play from behind, that's the thing that I worry about. He really hasn't really shown that he can do that or get in a slugfest like the 49ers are always ahead. When you look at the Eagles at plus money on the money line at plus 130, I have to love that. Now, to me, these teams are evenly matched. You look at them. I think Hurts is still the better quarterback. They both have good playmakers. The running back is better on the San Francisco side. Both defenses with great front sevens and back sevens that can be exposed. But for me, the difference is the recent trade of for All Pro safety Kevin Byard. Makes it a little bit more risky to try to throw on the Eagles' offense often. So I think that could be a difference maker. This game could go either way. So just the fact that the Eagles are plus money on the money line, I gotta like that.
Yeah, I totally get that. You're getting a 10-1 team at plus money on the money line, plus 130, as you mentioned. But in my eyes, like that's a valid counterpoint to what I said. But, given that the Eagles, they could have easily lost against the Bills. They could have easily lost against the Chiefs the last 2 weeks. I think this is a game where,
Yeah,
catch
I
it.
don't. I don't look at football like that. With all respect, you don't easily win or lose. You either
Well,
win or you lose. Bill Parr
hey,
says your record is what it says you are.
it is for sure, but hey, Philly hasn't looked, like that. Like they've shown some cracks in their armor, is what I mean. But we'll
Winning
see. We'll
teams
see how
win close games
they
when they
do.
have
They
to
do, and
win
it
them.
is impressive. They've beaten the Dolphins. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. They beat the Cowboys. So they've done it against really tough opponents. So I totally hear you. But for me, give me the 49ers. We're gonna move on now to the betting board. This is where we talk about some of our other top picks of the week. This is strictly on the Sunday and Monday slate. We're going to get into Thursday night afterwards later in the show. But Scott, you're going to lead us off here with the betting board, taking a Rams team at home against the Browns. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Joe Flacco might actually start this game for the Browns. So the Rams are at minus 3.5. In week 11, two late drives to beat the Seahawks, then a dominant win over Arizona. That's how I know it's Arizona, but if you're going to be a winning team, you're going to be a playoff team like the Rams are angling to do. That's how you have to beat a team like that. And the Browns defense, like you talk about defense is spending too much time on the field. They're going to spend too much time on the field. And Matthew Stafford might not have a great day. I think that he could still make the timely plays when he has to, like he did against Seattle a few weeks ago. He didn't have a great game, but he led two game-winning drives. To me, the Browns' defense is very good, but they're just going to be overworked.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I have this in one of my parlays as well. I really like the Rams. They're just different on offense with Kyron Williams there. He's just playing great. I know we talk about running backs being a devalued position, but it really seems that they just are much better with Kyron. And now I know a couple of those games are against Arizona, but hey, the Rams took care of your Seahawks in week one. What I mean is they're just a better team with Kyron in the fold. So I'm with you on that one. We're going to move on to my first pick on the betting board, and that's the Broncos and Texans under 47 and a half. Some spots it's at 47. Like it either way. Now, you look at this Denver team during this 5-game winning streak, they're allowing their combined scores during that span is averaging 39.4, which is, of course, over 8 points less than this number we get, 47. So it just feels too high for me. The under, like I said, their under has gone, like in each of those 5 Broncos games, it has combined for fewer than 47 points. So you look at Denver's offense, they play really, conservatively. Russell Wilson checking it down often to his running backs. They run the ball quite often. This has a look of a game that it's going to slow down and not really be a shootout like Houston's been, accustomed to in their recent games. And the Denver pass defense has been really good in this 5-game winning streak, allowing only 5.96 yards per attempt. I think they'll be able to slow down CJ Stroud, and this will be lower scoring than expected.
Yeah, everything you say is great reasoning wise, but like Michael Salfino of the Athletic says, we bet on possibilities and not on facts. And I feel like we're going to come back to this next week, and my gut is just telling me that C.J. Stroud's not going to be stopped, and Russell Wilson will have no problem wanting to cook and having to trade offensive punches with C.J. Stroud. So I'm leaning towards the over, but I'll probably be wrong. Usually when we argue, you're right and I'm wrong.
Hey, we'll see. CJ Stroud's a stud. I could see studs like him could overcome tough matchups, but we'll see how it plays out. You had one more betting board pick. Yes, you did. Yeah, you had one. We had one more each. So what was your next one? You were looking at the Chiefs and Packers game, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm taking the under here of 40, 42 and a half. I'm gonna even parlay this with the Packers at plus 6.5. The Chiefs have come in under the projected point total in 6 of their last 7, as noted. And before last week, the Packers had not played the game that went over 44 points in their previous 6. Green Bay has not allowed more than 24 points in its last 7 games, and Kansas City's receiving weapons obviously leave a lot to be desired against that Packers defense. The Packers have scored above 23 points just once in their last 9 games, while Kansas City allows 16 and a half points per game, third best in the NFL. I know we had Patrick Mahomes in this game, and Jordan Love's been playing well, but I see this being a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm with you. I'm on Green Bay as well, plus 6.5. They're just playing better. Jordan Love's really growing as a passer, and like you said, the Chiefs' offense really isn't what it used to be right now. Let's face it. They're just not that team that just pouring on points. Their defense has been much improved, so that also keeps the scoring down for on both sides. So I'm totally with you on this one. I like the under. So for my final betting board pick, I'm going to the worst team in the NFL, and that's the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking them plus 5.5 at Tampa Bay. This is their first game without head coach Frank Reich, who they fired. Now look at this. Since 2018, teams who have fired their coach mid-season, they're 8-5 straight up. So their first game in firing a coach during the year, the teams obviously has a bad record. They tend to, play much harder, play much better at least in the first game where the coach was fired. I think that's going to happen with Carolina here. Tampa Bay, it's not like they're this, formidable opponent. They've lost 6 of their last 7 games. This is a divisional game we're getting at 5.5. It feels like too many points. I think Bryce Young is going to have his best game as a pro this week. That Bucks pass defense is really weak. They've been shredded consistently throughout the season. Jared Goff went for over 300. CJ Stroud went for over 300. The list goes on and on. I think Bryce Young gets on track here. And I think Carolina is going to win outright in this game.
Interesting. I think they'll cover winning outright. That's a little gutsy, but you are gutsy, so I'm not surprised. Adam Thielen, according to Pro Football Focus, has the second best wide receiver cornerback matchup of any wide receiver this week. So make sure you check out his props. He's coming off of a 1 reception game. I think he'll bounce back.
Oh, I love that. I actually saw his catches are at 5.5. His yards are at around 60 or so. So
I'm gonna
love
take the
both.
over on both.
Yeah, I think Adam Thielen
21 targets in the 2 games previous to last week.
Yeah, this looks like a big Adam Thielen game. Totally agree. At the very least, we both agree that this should be a close game. You're going to see a better effort from Carolina. They got to win games. They can't really deal. It's brutal for them if they finish with the worst record and they don't have the first overall pick. They're going to do everything they can to win. Not to say NFL teams don't do that as it is, but they're not just going to play out the season. They got to win games. I think they'll finish better than what they've done so far this season. But
you see what Frank's doing. He's pleasing the higher ups at the game day. He says they're going to play better. Bettor. He meant.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're here at Bettor Plays Ahead to give you winners for the week. But to finish us off, we got to look at Thursday Night Football. What's your top play? Your Seahawks. Big Seahawks fan.
Yeah, but I never, ever, like I said on Caps Off, make calls with my heart. But still, the spread is too big with Dallas at +9. I know they've been blowing out opponents, but the Seahawks are the first winning team that they would beat if they beat them tonight. Seattle has to have this game, even if they don't win it. They're going to come out and put up a heck of a fight, I think. Pete Carroll actually had them practicing on Sunday this week to simulate a normal week. I think that the Seahawks are going to cover. I think Dallas at home winning 13 straight could be very, very tough in the end, and ultimately they're going to prevail. But just too large of a spread for me when the Seahawks might be looking at this the game that really decides their season because they're in the midst of a stretch where they just played San Francisco. They're playing Dallas now, and then they got San Francisco again in Philadelphia. They have to steal one of these games to make the playoffs. You know, they have the Packers and the Rams creeping up on them. So even if they don't win, I think they're going to put up a heck of a fight.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know that this line feels like a little bit of an overreaction to the Cowboys' recent string of blowout victories. You know, the Cowboys, they've played, in really inferior opponents to Seattle. They played Washington, they played Carolina during this stretch, they played the Giants with Tommy DeVito. Seattle is a much better team than those, and I'm with you. They could keep this one close.
Was it three
Absolutely.
wins over teams from New Jersey?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and before I get into their defense, we got a comment in the chat questioning my pick of the Panthers. Well, listen, Carolina have been awful, but I gave you teams tend to play better when they fire a coach in season. They're 8-5 straight up since 2018. Bryce Young's going to likely have a good game against this very weak Bucks pass defense. We're going to come revisit this. I'm quite confident I'm going to end up being the one is right. But hey, you could bet on the Bucks all you want. We'll see how it goes.
I say the Panthers cover, the Bucks win.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's why sports debate is great. But I'm on Carolina. On to my first prop in the Thursday nighter. You talked about how the Seahawks will keep it close, and I agree. And partly because that pass defense has really improved, like you tend to say often, and correctly, I might add. Devin Witherspoon, the rookie corner, looks like a stud. And I'm going to give you some stats on why I like Dak Prescott under 280.5 passing yards. Since week 4, the Seahawks have allowed about 216 passing yards per game at 6.34 yards per attempt. This is a game where Dallas is favored by 9. You could see them run the ball more, especially the Seahawks have struggled defending the run recently, getting gashed by Keaton Mitchell, by Gus Edwards, by Christian McCaffrey. I think this is more of a Tony Pollard game. And 280.5, that's a high bar. Like, that could still throw for 260. That's a good game. And we'd win by 20 yards. So given the Seahawks improvements in pass defense, I'm on the under for Dak.
Yeah, Witherspoon, obviously a defensive rookie of the year candidate. Trey Brown has mostly played well on the other side. Jamal Adams has really been good when he's healthy, in terms of the other things he does on the defense. You worry about Reek Woolen, though, because he got benched last week for tackling, although his coverage has gotten better. And, that leads to my next pick. It's the defense hasn't been complete shutdown because they don't, as good as those corners are, they don't play man. They play mostly zone, or they always have under Pete Carroll. And that leaves holes over the middle of the defense, as we saw with Deebo Samuel last week. And in coverage, Jordan Brooks and sometimes Bobby Wagner, who's a future Hall of Famer, they can be exposed. So I like Jake Ferguson over 35 and a half receiving yards at minus 115, and also maybe as an anytime touchdown scorer going over the middle of the field. I think you'll see some of Ferguson, you'll see some of Cooks, but I like Ferguson. On the other side, too, Pete Carroll talked about using his tight ends more. I know they have to chip Micah Parsons, but he hinted about using his tight ends more. I like Noah Fant over 15 and a half receiving yards, too.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. You always like those, fringe players because their props are really low. So sometimes the line is way off, and you can do well with that one. I have an interesting prop for my last pick for Thursday nighter, and that's Geno Smith over 9.5 rushing yards. The Cowboys are allowing 23.8 rushing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. 6 quarterbacks have gone for 20 or more yards on the ground against the Cowboys this season. Geno Smith this year, he's only averaging 7.8 rushing yards per game, but he could do more than that. He averaged over 20 per game last year, and all we need is 10. I think, against this tough Dallas defense, you're going to see Geno have to scramble around and try to make plays to keep his team in it. And 10 yards is really not much to ask. What do you think about this one, Scott?
Yeah, I've seen him do it like 8, 10 yards a pop, like several times. He and Pete Carroll talked about him needing to make quicker decisions. And KJ Wright, the former Seahawk who is a host out in Seattle, also talked about it too, about how he's got to make quicker decisions. And sometimes those quicker decisions will be, instead of waiting for something to develop, taking off and running for a first down. And I've seen Geno Smith do it frequently over the last 2 years. So I do like this prop.
Love it. Love to hear it. And hoping for a good Thursday nighter. Before we wrap up, I want to say thanks to Wes for being active in the chat. He's got one more question. What do you think about Dallas teasing them down to 3 points? I do like it because then all you need them to do is win by 4 or more. You can maybe tease that with the total, bring the total down 7 points to around 40.5, I believe. So you take Dallas and the over. That looks pretty safe. They should win this game, but like Scott said, I think, the Seahawks will keep it close. But that's it for our show here. Thank you for listening at Bettor Plays Ahead. Good luck on the picks. Let's have a winning Sunday. Check out Scott's content at the game day. He's got player props article. He's got fantasy football sleepers, much more. You could check out my fantasy football rankings. They're currently 4th most accurate. Let's keep it rolling. I also have a bunch of betting content at the game day, parlays, Monday Night Football article. Be sure to check us out there and follow us on social. Thank you for listening. Enjoy week 13.